Every time a massive corporate machine shifts its gears, the ripples travel fast, moving through the economy until they finally land right at the kitchen tables of regular middle-class households. When a corporate giant like Chevron undergoes a massive global restructuring, it is easy to look at the headlines as just numbers on a balance sheet. But behind the structural corporate updates lies a much deeper story about how major industrial choices alter the economic reality for everyday people, affecting the jobs families rely on, the cost of the goods they buy, and the financial stability of the communities where they live. For the average person watching at home, these shifts matter because they signal a fundamental change in the modern workforce, where the security of stable employment is increasingly weighed against corporate efficiency. The baseline of this shift is driven by a massive reorganization aimed at stripping out operational overlap. Globally, the target is a sweeping 15 to 20% reduction in the total workforce. To put that into perspective for anyone who relies on a stable paycheck to cover a mortgage, rent, utilities, or groceries, this represents an estimated elimination of 8,000 to 9,000 corporate and operational roles worldwide. In major energy hubs like Houston, Texas, that reality has already hit the ground, where an immediate layoff of approximately 575 to 600 workers was detailed in official state regulatory filings at a single downtown office complex. For middle-class households, a sudden loss of stable income on this scale does not just affect the workers who lose their jobs, it pulls thousands of predictable paychecks out of the local economy, reducing household spending on everyday necessities and putting immediate pressure on family savings. This aggressive downsizing is happening even while the industry maintains steady domestic production, revealing a stark contrast that directly shapes the current job market for regular people. While corporate leadership focuses on achieving up to $4 billion in permanent, sustainable spending cuts to satisfy market demands for higher revenue per employee, labor advocates point out a major point of friction. These painful personnel cuts are being executed while billions of dollars continue to be funneled into stock buybacks and shareholder distributions. For the average worker, this highlights a challenging reality in the modern economy. Even when an industry is highly productive, individual job security is no longer guaranteed. Total employment in this vital sector remains roughly 10% below pre-pandemic levels, proving that companies are permanently transitioning toward automation and leaner crew configurations, leaving fewer traditional stable opportunities for the middle-class workforce. Furthermore, the financial pressures forcing these corporate decisions are deeply tied to massive infrastructure challenges that indirectly impact broader costs. Severe cost overruns and operational delays at massive overseas expansion projects, combined with a narrowing of global refining margins following a multi-year margin collapse, mean that capital is tightly locked up. When billions of dollars are tied up in international legal battles over offshore oil blocks, companies are forced to find savings elsewhere, which ultimately translates into a reduction of domestic administrative overhead and jobs. When these major facilities and processing units face structural constraints or go offline, the specialized supply chains that dictate the costs of premium fuels and aviation operations get squeezed, creating a tighter economic environment where corporate efficiency comes at the direct expense of regular employment. As it stands today, the execution of this corporate restructuring is moving into its final phases, and the immediate economic pressures remain unresolved for the households caught in the middle. The reality for everyday people is that domestic energy production is hitting record volumes, yet it is being done with a significantly smaller human footprint. More than half of the domestic capital budget is now locked into high-efficiency drilling regions like the Permian Basin and the Bakken shale formations, utilizing automated rigs designed to extract over 2 million barrels per day with minimal employee overhead. The facts show a clear transition. The industry is successfully protecting its financial margins and dividend growth, but the consequence for the middle class is a permanently altered labor market, where fewer workers are needed to produce the same vital resources, leaving displaced families to navigate the financial aftermath alone.